Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with Immigration Attorney Brian D. Lerner. In this particular episode, we're going to be talking about registered nurses and how to bring them in and what the various options are. I'm trying out my new headphones with my new mic, so hopefully this will work better than some of the other ones because, as you know, I've done over 550 videos through my Coffee Talk series, and a lot of times there's a lot of background noise, and sometimes people can hear me as well. So let me know how this works. Okay, now for the registered nurses, just so you know, there has been a big change over the last several years as the way and length of time that it takes to get in as a registered nurse. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, if somebody was a registered nurse from another country, they'd put the application in, and in 3 months they'd be inside the United States with their green cards. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that anymore. Registered nurses are considered under employment phase 3 category, and in fact, they are backlogged, depending on what country you're from, they're backlogged for several years. The odd part about this, and what really doesn't make sense, is that they have been, the Department of Labor has designated registered nurses as a shortage area in the U.S. labor market. So unlike most other types of positions where you have to go through the perm and you have to, prove that there are insufficient number of people that are available for this particular type of position, in this particular respect, you don't have to prove that with registered nurses. So then, just policy-wise speaking, the issue comes, why would the Department of Labor certify this as a shortage position, and yet it still takes several years to get into the United States as a registered nurse, generally? And so, in this particular respect, hopefully when they do immigration reform, and hopefully when there are new paths for people to come in, maybe they will look at the registered nurse option and allow them to come in a much quicker manner rather than the current situation. So, what is it that can be done to bring them in? Well, first of all, you still have to fill out the ETA 9089. That is the perm petition, but the perm petition doesn't go through all the normal procedures. Okay, it does need to be submitted with the I-140 petition, but given that, it will only show what the qualifications are and so forth, and fill out all the necessary information. You will, of course, have to find the prevailing wage determination of the particular position. So, if you're doing coming in as an RN in Los Angeles versus an RN in North Dakota, the prevailing wage will be different. So you have to run it through the various procedures in order to get the prevailing wage, and of course the employer will have to pay the prevailing wage for the particular position. Now, a term, even though you don't have to go through the procedures, you're still required to post a notice requiring and regarding the job opportunity for at least 10 consecutive business days in 2 conspicuous locations at the work site. Now, I've had cases where, the clients have come in with a request for evidence and ultimately a notice to deny because they miscounted the 10 days, or it wasn't consecutive, or they included a holiday as one of the days, or they included a Saturday. It's a very strict requirement, and if you get to the point where you haven't posted the proper certificate, then the proper notice, then it will be denied. So you have to make sure that you do that. Okay. Now, the professional nurses, again, the reason it doesn't have to go through the perm is because it's under what's called Schedule A, Group 1, and that is the pre-designated category by Department of Labor that it's a shortage. Now, the only realistically, the only other position that this would apply to is our physical therapists. Okay, so those two positions. Now, what is it that you need in order to file the nurse petition? Okay, well, you have to have the I-140. You need to send in the ETA 9089 in duplicate. You have to send the prevailing wage determination, the posting notice, and then you have to obviously show that the person coming in has the necessary qualifications. So the nursing degree or diploma, a nurse license from a country where the nursing degree was obtained, and then proof that the nurse will be employed as a professional nurse, and you can also include the certificate from the CGFNS, or that the nurse holds an unrestricted state license or has passed the NCLEX. Now, when one passes the CGFNS, it basically says, okay, they have sufficient knowledge and so forth, so that when they get to the U.S. and take the NCLEX, it's likely that they will pass. So those three categories will need to be done. Now, the question then becomes, what happens after you submit it all? Well, you submit all of these documents, the whole I-140 nurse petition, and let's just say it takes 6 months to a year, give or take, to hopefully get the approval. And then what happens is the moment your I-140 is filed, that's when the priority date is established. And then, once the priority date is established and the I-140 is approved, you wait until the visa number becomes current, and then you can consular process into the United States, and of course your spouse and unmarried children under 21 can follow to join inside the United States at the same time. But the question also then becomes, is there a way that a nurse can come into the U.S. quicker than under the normal I-140 petition? And there are different ways, okay? One way is to come in on a TN visa. Now, a TN allows registered nurses to come in, and it's really done quite fast. The problem with a TN is you have to be either a Canadian or Mexican national. So if you are a Canadian or Mexican national, then you get sponsored, come in under the TN, and you're here very quick. And then once you're here, then of course you can apply for residency through the I-140 process. Now, what about other ways? For example, if you're not a Canadian or Mexican citizen, well, there's a lot of people who immigrate to Canada. So, depending how long that might take to immigrate to Canada and get a Canadian citizenship, it might be faster, who knows, than waiting for the visa number to become current. Next question is whether or not you can come in on an H-1B. Well, an H-1B, for the vast majority of nurses, are not available, because what they've said is you don't really need a bachelor's degree in order to be a registered nurse. You could go to a 2-year school and so forth. And so there are exceptions to that. If, for example, you're in an administrative position, you have your master's in nursing, if you specialize, like in pediatrics or cardiology and so forth, then it is possible to come in on an H-1B, but not just as a normal registered nurse. Now, they do have what's called an H-1C. Now, there's very few of them actually that are listed per year, but if you happen to be you contact a hospital that is within one of these designated areas, and honestly it's sort of where nobody else would want to go, but if you contact the hospital in one of those areas and you happen to get in this year's allotment or whichever year's allotment, then you can come in on an H-1C, and once you have the H-1C, again, you can come here and then apply for residency after that, assuming that's the path you want to take. Now, one other thing, you need to have, it's called the Section 343 Visa Screen Certificate. It used to not be such a big deal, but now it's very important with health industry professionals, and they need to come in with the certificate, whether it's on the H-1C, whether it's on the I-140, whether it's on the TN. You have to have the certificate, which again, it shows that you're qualified as a nurse, but it also has the English requirement under TOEFL and what is required there. It basically shows that you meet the education, training, licensing, experience, and English competency requirement in order to go forward with it. Now, the credentialing agencies, there's only a few of them that are available, but primarily the CGFNS would be what is used for nurses. Okay, and there's several different things that are applicable in order to get this particular visa screen, which in many cases you don't have to have when you actually submit the petition, especially the I-140, but you will receive a RFE, or a request for evidence, which does require it before it would be issued. So keep that in mind. Try to have that done as soon as possible to alleviate the problems that will happen after. Now, one reason that it's taken so long, or that the wait is so long, is because of visa retrogression. And visa retrogression has occurred, which it's really sad. Some people, they've waited years and their visa number's almost current, and then boom, all of a sudden, immigration says, sorry, we overstated the amount that were available, and they put it back 2-3 years. And that does make it so it's longer. Now, in regards to the different other availabilities of ways of coming in as a nurse, we've discussed the non-immigrant ways, the immigrant ways, and how you have to wait and so forth. So what you should do is contact the immigration attorney, find the best way that you're able to come in, see if you might qualify to come in on an H-1C, and then we'll go from there. Now, there's lots of other things that specifically we would have to discuss to complete a nurse petition, but as far as the generalities go, this would be it. If you like this video, give me a subscribe, and also if you'd like to have a consultation, email me or go on to the various sites and set up a consultation. I'll be happy to help. Okay, more on the coming video.